Okay, they've successfully attached that onto their belay loop. The next thing we have to do is we have to prep the lip of the crevasse. I'm going to try to kick down snow and ice to create a ramp that our rope is going to run over, but I want to make sure I'm not kicking ice and snow down on top of our fallen climber. If they're conscious, I can communicate them. I'm just going to say, hey John, I'm going to kick snow down to your left. All right, I'm already tied off, but I can also take my axe, again as a belay. I like to sit in a seated stance, and I'm going to use the heel of my boot to start to kick that snow over best I can. If I'm really worried about it, we can plant this axe, and this is where having that second axe is nice. We can plant this axe into the snow in the lip of the crevasse, and that's going to form essentially edge protection, like a roller. Once we know that they're all prepped and ready to go, I can come out of my Munter mule, and I can just, again, take in slack and belay myself back out of this. What we're going to do though is we're only going to come about halfway back because we want to save as much rope as we can to effect this rescue if we need. So I'm going to come halfway back. Now I'm going to tie, we'll do it on this side. I'm just going to tie an overhand on a bite. This is actually going to become our new master point for our anchor. We've already assessed this area. This isn't a Colorado Mountain Club class, so I'm going to say I'm comfortable with you coming off of this system with discretion. If this is fairly flat, we've already probed this area. This is kind of our new workstation. If you decide that you want to come off of that system, just understand that now you're not attached to the system. If it's a steep angle or it's something that we're worried about other crevasses opening up underneath us, I would just go in with a prusik on one of these strands at this point. So now we have effectively created a 2-to-1. A 2-to-1 mechanical advantage is formed when we have a moving pulley at the load. All right? It's not technically a pulley, it's a carabiner. But remember, when in a pinch, we can use a carabiner as a pulley, we just lose a lot of efficiency. If they were conscious and they wanted to put a pulley onto their end, that's a great place for that pulley. It'll reduce a lot of the friction loss in our system. We'll get more efficiency out of it, but honestly, a carabiner is quick. Some people will put a micro traction device down there for progress capture. I prefer to put the micro traction up top, and the reason is it's very easy. We get 3 guys on this line with a 6-to-1 mechanical advantage. It's really easy to overhaul our climber, and if it's an overhung crevasse lip, we can overhaul that climber up into the crevasse lip. And if they're unconscious, they're not going to be able to disengage the camming mechanism on that micro traction. And then that's kind of creates a really difficult situation that now someone's going to have to rappel in and fix that for them. So it's just better to just leave that just a straight carabiner, less risk of dropping something deeper into the crevasse, and we're just going to keep our progress capture up here. I'll show you guys this with a micro traction as well, but we're going to do it traditionally with pulleys and prusiks, and the only reason for that is because it's cheap, it's effective, and that's what I'm going to be providing you guys with unless you buy your own micro traction at T-Block. So it really helps to build your system small and work with tight ropes, because when you work with tight ropes, it's a lot easier to get things right the first time instead of accidentally hooking things in the wrong way. So we have our 2-to-1 mechanical advantage. Now all of a sudden they've gone unconscious, they're dead weight, and we don't have enough ass behind us to haul, basically we'll call it 100 pounds of climber and gear up by ourselves. So now we're going to add a 3-to-1 on top of the 2-to-1 because we are marrying or piggybacking 2 simple systems into a simple compound system. It's a multiplicative effect, so 2 times 3 equals 6. We achieve a 6-to-1 mechanical advantage by doing this next step. We're going to take our kit, which has 1 to 2 pulleys and 2 prusiks, 1 long, 1 short. Anytime I'm working and I need to set something down, make sure you either put it onto a belay loop or onto your harness, so that way, or I'm sorry, onto an anchor loop or onto your harness or a belay loop. That way you reduce risk of dropping something off the mountain while you're working with this equipment. We'll throw a locking carabiner into our anchor. And then the next thing that we need to do is we need to run this rope through a pulley. We have these CMC swivel pulleys. the strand that comes back up from the climber. So we have a dead strand, we have the back side of the strand, and now this is the side that's coming back up from the climber. It's the side that I ultimately untied from. That's the side that you're going to place that pulley on. Now, we still just have a 2-to-1, but it's a 2-to-1 with a change of direction. There's no mechanical advantage achieved from a pulley that doesn't move in the system. One thing that we don't have yet, though, is progress capture. What progress capture means is as I haul, if I let go, we're going to lose all of that progress. There's nothing stopping this rope capturing it. So remember, when in doubt, if ever you forget, both prussiks go into the same strand of rope, okay? So we're going to do our progress capture prussik on this strand. We're also going to do our tractor prussik on this strand. So I'm going to take that prussik. It's a lot easier to tie prussiks on slightly tight rope. So something that works really well is if we put this into our knees like this, or you can just have someone pull it tight. We're going to do a triple wrap prussik. So we're going to wrap 1, 2, 3 times with the knot. We're going to pull on the far side of the knot like this, and then dress it up. And it'll be interesting to see if this bites, because this is pretty beefy prussik, and it's it's an 8.5 mil rope. So in a perfect world, here we go. Get this prussik nice and dressed up. Dress just means that the knot looks good. It's going to hold the way it needs to. We're going to give it a little test pull. Good, it's biting. That's exactly what we want. We can just go right into that initial carabiner that the pulley is on. Boom. Now to test it, we can pull tight. These fins should mind the prussik, which means it's going to prevent the prussik from being sucked into the pulley. Put this back out, we capture that load. Now we have a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage with a change of direction and a progress capture. The next thing that we need to do is we need to build our what's called our tractor prussik, and that is what's going to give us the 3-to-1 mechanical advantage. It's what's essentially called a Z-drag system, because it looks like a Z. So we're going to take the back side of the rope that's coming out of the pulley. We're going to go as close to the lip as we can safely get. And again, on the same strand of rope, we're going to take that prussik. If we're worried that it's not safe to build it out here, we can just build it small and extend it out. And any sort of prussik will work for this. There's like a Beal jammy prussik. There's all kinds of options. This one is super, super long. Probably too long for this application, but I'll show you a trick that we can make it work. We're going to do the same thing, prussik on the same strand. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pull this tight. Again, we're going to dress it up. And now, because this is way too long, and what that means is it's going to reduce our throw, we're just going to throw an overhand knot into it. This prussik probably would have been better served as the progress capture at the anchor because of its length, but that's okay. It's going to work for us. Now, we take a pulley. If we don't have a pulley, again, we can just use a carabiner, but we get more efficiency in our system with a pulley. This can be a non-locking carabiner. And now we have a 6-to-1 mechanical advantage with progress capture. It's a 2-to-1 that comes up to our progress capture pulley with a 3-to-1 on top. I find that hand over hand pulling is the safest. One thing we want to watch is we have crampons on. This area, we're on a glacier. It's not super safe, so we really want to avoid walking around too much. We can do a little bit of walking, but 2 or 3 people hand over handing this is usually sufficient. If it becomes so much and you're pulling by yourself, I call it the alpine sit-up, where we kick these bucket steps. You're just going to choke up on the rope. You're going to sit back and allow your body weight to pull that climber. Then you can actually use the weight of the rope to help you stand up and rinse and repeat. We're going to continue this haul until this pulley gets to our other pulley. Lock that pulley out so we have progress capture. Now, because we've sucked this system in, this line, which was once tight, should now be loose. So we can use this as our backup. As this line begins to get loose from hauling, we're gonna start tying overhand knots into it. Just tie an overhand on a bite. This is gonna be kind of like our oh shit break. That way if our system, our mechanical advantage system fails, maybe it's storming and our prusiks freeze up and stop biting the rope. That's a very common scenario. Now, if that system fails, we're shortening the rope that they were climbing on initially, so they're only gonna fall as far as we give them rope to fall, and we're sucking that rope in by putting those knots in the system. Now we can reset by taking this prusik, walk it all the way back out the anchor as far as we can, and we're ready to haul. And we're gonna do this over and over again until they're up. Again, stop, reset, throw this knot in there. Walk this prusik back out. Walk that prusik out. Again, take in rope. It's repetitive, but it's important. Once our climber is towards the lip of the crevasse or close to the lip of the crevasse, this is going to be one of the hardest parts of the haul, especially if it's overhung. So we want to come back out, make sure that we are walking that prusik back out. This is one of those exceptions where I would most likely consider securing myself in one way or another. An easy and fast way to do that without messing with prusiks or anything is we can just take figure 8 on a bite or an overhand on a bite, put that into our belay loop, take out as much rope as we need. We're just going to throw a clove hitch in here. We can clove into that anchor. This is another reason why we built that anchor a little closer to the edge, because now I've shortened my rope enough that I can allow myself room to travel. We could also put the clove hitch here for adjustability, but we should have someone minding the anchor so they can just adjust it as needed. We're going to reset this as far as possible, and now I'm going to help haul and simultaneously reach and try to grab anything I can. Their backpack strap, if they were conscious and they build a chest harness, that'll be another good spot to grab. But they're also, if they can, they're going to swing their tool as they climb out, almost like a mantle move, like when you're mantling on an ice bulge. So you want to kind of do a 3/4 length swing, not a full swing, because then you'll end up kind of humping the ledge, but a 3/4 swing. They can kick their feet up high and then try to stand up on top and mantle up. Another reason why we sunk this axe here is because if they drop their axe, I can wiggle this out at this point, hand it down to them, and give them a tool for them to help themselves climb out. And that's our Crevasse Rescue setup, 6-to-1 mechanical advantage.